It's a yes bank maximum, the first of this contest. Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Righto, welcome back to the Maximum Cricket Podcast, episode 3740 odd. My name is Munter. Just dropped that in there. My name is Munter, and I am joined by Just Jacko today as Lugsy. Well, he's 4 days into one of the great benders by all accounts.
Quoted as saying 7 days into a 4-day bender.
he's like a pre-bender towards the actual massive bender. Don't know where he is. It could be anywhere. All we know is that it started with the chili peppers arriving into town on your Thursday night, and don't think he stopped. Bit of a shame he can't be with us, but I'm sure he's having an absolute fantastic time, no doubt. Jacko, mate, how are you doing? Another good performance by you guys yesterday. Some special figures from yourself.
Yeah, 3 for 33. Just got that in for Crom and his bender, basically. Another good win for the boys, thankfully. So, playing some good cricket at the moment. So hopefully long may it continue, but, it's a fickle game. Sort of any given Saturday you can be the best or the worst team in the world. So, boys are tracking well. So, we sort of keep going and play some finals footy soon, which will be good. And, that's how we're going, which is good.
Beautiful. Look, today there hasn't been like a lot of. There's been a lot of cricket, but not a lot of meaningful cricket. Obviously, we've got some tests heating up in a couple of weeks, but I thought now's a good time to just sort of take stock of our Blackcaps as a whole. The tour to India is starting to wind down. A couple of T20s left. It's been a mixed tour of Pakistan and India, and we just wanted to sort of do a bit of a state of the nation, have a look at the test side, the one-day side, bit of T20 stuff, and maybe just have a look at the domestic roundup. Is the Super Smash really that bad? I don't know. There's been some pretty good games. Shout out Ben Lockrose, of course.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, for sure. Let's go back to Pakistan. Let's look at this test side as a whole, and then let's review that test series, and then let's just sort of see how we're tracking before we play England in 2 weeks' time, I think. 2 tests in Pakistan, drawn 0-0. If you're like a glass half-empty person, then you could easily say they haven't won a test series since 2021. If you're glass half full, then you could say New Zealand was the only actual side that could win both those test matches. They were probably robbed through crappy pitches and light. Like, there's an argument they could have won both tests if light had allowed. We only needed missed out on 8 overs in that first test. Missed out on 3 overs in that second test. Standouts for me, Tom Latham, Devon Conway up top. 200s, 350s between them. Really dominant stuff. Williamson double ton. That's nice to see. Big one here for me, Ish Sodhi, leading wicket taker, 13 wickets at 25. He's sort of become Southey's go-to bowler there a bit. Didn't see a lot of Ajaz there for a bit. The 2 question marks, you've got Henry Nicholls, 53 runs at 17. Since his last 100 at the start of 2022, Nicholls 156 runs at 17, and also Ajaz Patel and Neil Wagner sort of starting to look a little older, I would say. Jacko, how do you see this test team heading into the series against England?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because we're sort of comparing apples and oranges, I think, in terms of what's going to be successful between what the Pakistan series, where I think we played some really good cricket, and Ish for me was outstanding. To come back into Test cricket like he did in those sort of conditions, where I think Pakistan's a lot flatter than people realise. I don't think Pakistan is like a Karachi in India, where it's actually like, you just put your spinners on and it turns square. I still think there's a lot of runs in that series. So, for him to sort of be top wicket taker was just really great to see. But in terms of coming back to New Zealand, it's sort of like coming back home. There's a bit of comfort, a bit of safety. We'll sort of pick 4 seamers in the first test. not looking like it's going to be Bolt, but I mean it's going to be Southey, Wagner, potentially Kyle back.
That's the big one. If you add Kyle to that side, it's a big difference.
Matt Henry, I think, and Wagner. So, I mean, that the comforts of home are sort of gonna come back and hopefully just reset our view of this test side. I think we really got to see some new faces in Pakistan perform in foreign conditions. So, like Ish coming back, Brace will probably securing himself as maybe the batting and all-rounder cover. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because I don't think the series is going to be similar at all against England. Great to see sort of our big top three back in the runs. Kane's average against spin. I mean, he is having an all-time return to form here. I think he averages like nearly 90 against spin. So he's been fantastic. Tom just sort of re-showing how good of a cricketer he is. And yeah, Conway might be the best three-format batsman in the world. So I think the batting's in a good place. There is that wee question mark around Henry Nicholls, but I'm gonna say he'll figure it out. He's a good enough player too. There is starting to become a bit of a squeeze in that order with how Darrell's come on recently. So there's probably a batting spot up for grabs with two or three guys sort of vying for that. And then if Kyle's not fit, what do we do with the all-rounder spot? But I think our batting's in a good place, and I think we may have figured out the spinner role, and I think it's going to be Ash Sodhi in the first test of the summer now. I think he's jumped ahead. Looks like he's got the trust of Southey. So yeah, I think that's been quite crucial for that series. Is we went close, we were in it all the time, and now we've sort of figured out a couple of our sort of question mark pieces in the test side for me.
The all-rounder, the spinner, and the middle order is probably going to be the big question. It feels like opening in Pakistan is a lot. It was actually probably the easiest time to bat.
Yeah,
it's a lot harder to open in New Zealand. Are we gonna keep Conway up top? Do you think it's going to be hard to break that up?
Who's going to open instead? Like, I guess you bring Will Young into the fold, but then I think, yeah, I mean, Conway at 4, maybe that is the right option. Kane, Conway, Darrell at 3, 4, 5.
I can't see them. I can't see them breaking them up.
Nah.
It just feels like the safest team is probably, whether it's the right team or it's probably, I'll give you my team afterwards, but this is probably the safest team is Latham, Conway, Williamson, Nicholls, Mitchell at 5, Blundell at 6, Bracewell 7, Jameson, Southey, Wagner or Henry.
Yeah.
It's the likely team, but this is where it gets a bit funky. Bracewell will get pumped. He will. There's no way he bowls. I can't. I don't know, unless he's... I mean, to be fair, he's had a lot more experience since those England tests. Where it was probably, to be fair, we probably weren't prepared. I mean, no one was prepared for what was going to happen.
Nah.
But the reality is, whoever your spinner is going to go. And I really want to see a world where Ish Sodhi plays. If he plays, then you need an all-rounder. You need a seam bowling all-rounder. And there's not really one that's... Like, there's no Colin De Grandhomme. There's no obvious... Like, I mean, there's... we've talked privately about, like, Shipley and, like, a Nathan Smith. Like, those are up and coming. But you're not going to throw them into the firing line just yet.
Yeah. It probably hinges on, like Kyle, if he's playing or not, I think. Because I think if he doesn't play, you've probably got to go 4 genuine seamers.
You reckon, you reckon they'll go Jameson at 7, you reckon? Do you reckon that's a chance? That's
maybe.
Ballsy.
Yeah, it's a touch, probably a touch high. But I think, like, Southey, Henry, Wagner are all playing the first test if available and fit. And then, if you want Ish to play, you do need a seam bowling all-rounder. So maybe it is a Shipley. Maybe he gets a go, or a Nathan Smith. Sort of one of those players, and it's just that's the makeup of the side that we need. So we're just going to have to do it because they are the best available of how we want to make our side up.
Here, I'll give you my lineup where I'm gonna play. I'd play an extra batsman.
Yeah,
and I would say we're going to go 4 bowlers, and Mitchell can bowl if we need. I'm going to chuck Will Young in that middle order with Nichols. So Will Young at 4, Nichols at 5, Mitchell 6, Blundell 7, Jameson 8, Sodhi at 9, Southey 10, and then Wagner. It's a risk. It feels a better deep, but I don't know. There's just I think we need Sodhi potentially could be. Yeah, I don't know. If it doesn't look right, but I just feel like that could be the lineup. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if Kyle will play Test 1. I think he'll definitely play the second Test. So I don't know if he's even going to play the first Test. So I'll go Matt Henry, Wagner, Southey. I'll lock them in.
Yeah.
And then I will lock in the same top 6 as we had in Pakistan. And then, for me, I really don't know. I think they might go Bracewell 7, Jameson or Shipley at 8, and Bracewell as the spinner. I could see that sort of happening. And then just going, well, we're going to bowl 4 seamers. We're actually just having Bracewell as a genuine batter at 7. And then our 5th bowler is Bracewell and Darryl.
Depends on what the wicket's like.
First
test at the Mount, you'd think.
Yeah, you do need a spinner,
slow,
don't you?
But then it's a day-nighter.
Yeah.
So
do you probably want four bowlers that can swing the ball. Yeah. I mean, just a lot of problems get solved if Bolt comes back, doesn't it? Like if we've got Trent.
I tell you who we kind of miss is actually Colin De Grandhomme's actually pretty underrated.
Yeah, he took a lot of questions out of the balance of the side, didn't he?
Yeah, those seam bowling all rounders, they don't grow on trees. They are as rare as they come.
Who can genuinely bat 7, genuinely bowl 15 overs. Tough to find.
100%, and it's Darryl's it's the batting is as good as any. He's picked as a batter.
He's playing as a batter, yeah.
And it's if his bowling's it's okay. It's okay. But it's not. He's probably not going to pick up wickets. Whereas De Grandhomme, he could genuinely take wickets for you.
Yeah, it's tough. I think asking a top 5 batter to be an all rounder is tough too. I think you need that bit of reprieve. It's tough if you're in the field for 90, let's say 120 overs, and you've bowled 20 of them, and then sit down, snick, guy goes out in the first over, you're padding up, you're mentally back on, ready to bat. I think, if you're playing in the top 5 in Test cricket, you're a batter, and that's what your job is, and that's what you do. And if he bowls a couple of overs and gets a wicket, it's a bonus. But he's not. You can't pick him to bat 5 and be an all rounder. So, yeah, I mean, we've just sort of that loss of a genuine seam bowling all rounder without that next one locked in to step up is probably the biggest weakness, I think, in our Test side. Because it seems like that the team, if you're going to pick a spinner, if you're going to pick Ish or you're going to pick Ajaz, you do need a guy batting 7 that's going to bowl 20 overs of seam. So, yeah, tough one, but I think it's a good question to have. Hopefully we do see some young talent play and play well, because it'd be great to see what that sort of next level has looking towards the next Test Championship, because I think we're not going to play for this one. So, yeah, if we can figure that puzzle piece out before the next cycle starts, I mean, added bonus. Obviously, we want to win the series. We always want to win the series. But if we figure that out before that test series that test cycle starts again, we're in the money. We're like on the front foot for that cycle. So, yeah, some questions to answer in this series for New Zealand, I think.
To round out our squad, I guess the other sort of question mark would be our reserve seamers. So let's just say it's a 15-man squad. We've basically talked about. We've got Latham, Conway, Williamson, Young, Nichols, Mitchell, Blundell, Jameson, Sodhi, Southey, Wagner, Bracewell, and Henry. I think they're all locks. They're going to be in the squad.
Yep.
Whether or not they all play is another story. But so that's 13. Two more spots. I think they'll be seamers. I'd like to see friend of the show Jake Duffy and Shipley in that squad. I know Duff, and we'll talk about the one day side. I know he got pumped in that first one day, and to be fair, Shipley hasn't done much better either. But I just think, like, particularly Duff, what he showed in that first T20 is what he can actually do with the ball when it swings.
Yeah.
And to just have another option as a swing bowler, I think it's his time is now for that test cycle. I think he goes ahead of Tickner.
Yeah, and I think, especially with the pink ball test in there, I think you need, like, everything about pink ball cricket has shown it hoops under light. So you need proponents of swing bowling. I think I'd like to see Duffy in the squad, and I think Shipley rounds out the 15, and I think he might even play the first test if Kyle's not fit. Because same thing. I mean, India is a tough place to start, especially for a seamer, especially if you've never played there.
Does Shipley swing it? Does Shipley swing it? Or is he more of it banging into the deck?
No, it does swing it. He's just tall, big body. His length feels heavier than it is, and can swing it both ways. So,
because if you take out Jameson from that first test, obviously you got no bowl. Like, I know Wagner can swing it, but he's probably not.
It's not what he's there to do, is it?
No, he's not a genuine swing. Like Henry's good, but he's not going to bend it around corners. He's going to nip it off the deck. So
Same bowler.
You might actually need a swing, like a genuine swing bowler, and maybe like you said, a Duffy or Shipley could potentially come into that lineup. Ballsy.
Does Wagner play the first test if it's pink ball?
Well, the Wagner one's interesting, isn't it? It does feel like he's losing a bit of energy. And to be fair, that could be just because he's playing in Pakistan and it doesn't bounce.
Yeah, and it's hot.
And it's hot, but it just feels like he's not getting picked as much, and he's just not quite as effective as he once was. I think
could be sort of a make or break series with Bazball. Like, he could go at 8s, or he could be back to 4-fers, 5-fers, really just harassing batters and that sort of thing. So
good point.
He probably will play, but I think, like, if no Kyle, like Southey, Duffy, Shipley, Henry might be whilst a young attack, it might be the best attack to play a pink ball test.
Yeah, I mean his experience might be handy, but I think you're right. If he bumps England, like, they're not ducking and weaving, they're going for it. So he's either going to take poles or he's going for 10s.
Yeah.
And that could be the end of Wagner right there.
I think there's a bit of excitement. I think, like, good to have a bit more test cricket on home soil. Hopefully there might be some young seam bowling talent sort of exposed to the New Zealand public. Some guys that have been playing some really good domestic cricket for a long time now. And then hopefully they get a go. So, no, should be a good test tour, and nice wee treat to round out sort of the test summer.
Beautiful. Right, well, let's move forward with the one day side. There's been a lot of chatter around this cap side with the World Cup in India later this year. These results, they do feel a little bit more important than just your standard bilateral series. We're obviously with the highs of a really good series win in Pakistan. Was that a first series win in Pakistan? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think
sounds
maybe
good,
first.
though.
Yeah, we'll run with it. First Test series winner in Pakistan, and then India not so great.
Yeah, that was a full noise hiding. Fair to
Yep.
say, we will obviously there was no Kane, no Southey, obviously no Bolt in the India series, and like Kane and Southey were playing against Pakistan. But look, fuck, we were going to lose that no matter what. India were amazing.
Yeah,
they
have got some players.
They were full strength, and we'll get to India in a second. I guess the highlights for me, from a New Zealand fan perspective, Kane does look like this is his best format right now. It feels like it suits his tempo.
Yeah.
Conway's very quickly becoming like an all-time great.
Yep.
Like where would you rank him now? Like all time, has he played enough?
No.
Nah.
All time, if we're talking just viscerally, like the product he's put out, and if we're not looking at accumulation, he's up there. Like I think he's in the conversation of like as a pure just better to play for New Zealand. I think he's easily top 10, and it could be top 5. And obviously, recency bias is sort of heavily weighting in his favour. But also, I don't remember. Probably the only player I remember sort of coming onto the scene like this would maybe be a young Ross.
But even he didn't have this sort of like consistency.
No, not as prolific. But like these sort of knocks where you're like, fuck, this guy is going to be all time for us. So yeah, I mean, he's doing a lot to be in that conversation, and I think it's not going to go away. So, yeah, I think there's probably the greats of New Zealand batting, like your Martin Crows, your Roscoes, your Canes.
That's your top 3, isn't it?
That's your top 3. That's your top 3. They're going to be hard to crack.
Like talent-wise, Conway, I feel like he's on that level, but he hasn't done it for an extended period of time.
No. And we're not going to get 10 years of it either.
No, so he's not on that level, but
no,
like it's a tough one.
He's probably in the currently. He's probably in like the Guptill, Fleming, McCullum, sort of Tom Latham, that sort of band. I reckon of like serious sticks, but their record isn't going to like match your Crows, your Roscoes, your Taylors, your Canes. Like, but in terms of just a batter to watch, he's right up there.
Okay, here's another one. Like right now, you got to pick this batsman, and you don't know which format it's going to be, and you got to pick between these three batters. And it's like right now, not their career, just right now.
Yeah, today.
Today. So
you've won the toss, you're betting.
Yeah, and you don't know what format it is. So you've got Conway.
Yep.
Coley.
Yep.
And Bubba. How you ranking those 3?
Coley 1.
Right now.
The king is back.
Okay.
Kane at Conway at 2, Bubba at 3. Right, wow, as of right now.
That is a spicy take. See, I'd flip that. I'd flip that. I think, like, it's a tough one.
I'm still hurt from that T20 World Cup. I put a lot of eggs in the Bubba Azam Rizwan basket, and they fucking burnt me.
The old draft. That's tough. Yeah, those 3 are the all format players. I don't think there's that many now. So
that's a pretty inseparable list. Like I'm talking massive, like recency bias on Coley. Like that knock the other night was unbelievable. But like you could put those 3 in any order, and you are not going to be like wrong, which probably speaks magnitudes of how good Conway is at the moment.
100%. So speaking of like someone else in good form, like another highlight, Michael Bracewell, who really is like at this point, he is a must for any white ball team in that 11.
Yeah,
like
100%.
He has to play T20s, ODIs. He is in that side. Like Test cricket, I'm not completely sold, but as a white ball player, his bowling, his batting, he is a match winner.
Yeah, phenomenal.
That 100 in a losing side was honestly one of the best knocks you'll ever see, and he's got to make him a lot of money.
Yeah, you'd think he is. If any internationals fall over in that IPL, you think he's getting a call, and you think maybe even he might get a call regardless. Just
get him around the squad.
Get him around. Someone's got a dodgy hammy. They might not, but I mean they could. And yeah, I think he could definitely find himself playing in the IPL this year, if not some sort of very lucrative leagues over the winter. He's becoming sort of quite pivotal in that one day side very, very quickly. I think he seems to be sort of taking over that almost that Neesham spot with the bat in one day cricket and doing it better.
Just better.
Yeah, just an actual genuine batsman who's become a spin bowler. So, but yeah, his batting is sort of like after the winter, it was like, he did it against a few minnows, batted really well, and now he's doing it against sort of titans of cricket. So, yeah, leaps and bounds for Bracewell.
Yeah, and we probably won't talk too much about the T20 stuff, but just noticing on that last T20, the balance of the side looked a hell of a lot better with like Bracewell in the side ahead of Neesham, just because like you had another bowler. Like you sort of had the same sort of batting, but you had another bowler, and like a genuine bowler, not like you might get an over out of him that is going to get targeted, but like a genuine guy that can give you 4, which was huge. And obviously, like there's that stat like he's had 200s in one day cricket, like batting at 7, and that's more than Dhoni.
Yeah, that's quite a stat, and I think. He's done it like in real tough asks too. Like,
he's got a history now. Like he's got obviously that he almost won us that game against India. He won us that game against Ireland.
Yeah.
Like remember he won that game out of nowhere for Wellington last year against the Stags. Like these are 3 knocks that you'd be lucky to play one in your lifetime, and he's played 3 in 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. Like, sort of him and sort of Ben Lockro's the 2 number 1 finishes in the country currently.
100%. I don't even think Bracewell could have won that game like Lockro's did. He was just. I heard he was just. He had Foxcroft at the other end, who's in hot form. He was like, "Get me on strike, get me on strike." And I'm
don't worry, Dean. Don't worry, Dean. I've got this under control. I think. Yeah, it's good to see Bracewell do it in Indian conditions, and I think that's like sort of some of the learnings from this series is that some guys that look like they're going to be key pieces at the World Cup.
Yeah, well, that's where the World Cup is, isn't it? So it's huge stuff.
Have learned how to bat there. It's an interesting series to take stock of because I think we were missing, like in terms of the best team for the World Cup squad, we were missing arguably our best batter in Indian conditions.
Yeah. And
our 3 seamers.
Got here, we're missing Bolt, Southey, Henry. You could add Jameson to that mix, I think. Yeah. I think if he's fit, he's probably playing that trip.
Well, he's definitely in the squad. So I think we basically didn't. I mean, outside of Santner, Santner and Sodhi, we didn't have any like frontline seamers, and I think that really showed probably the deficit in the series. And I think maybe just sort of where we lack in terms of seam bowling depth compared to some of the big nations, but I think our sort of seam bowling depth's a bit rawer, and I think that showed in the series. So yeah, in terms of we were tracking for the World Cup, I think we've got guys that are going to be key players getting some time in India to learn how to bat in India. And yeah, we were missing our entire seam attack, so always going to be tough to sort of compete over there, which is a shame. But yeah, I don't think it's doom and gloom yet, thankfully.
Yeah, I would add in the caveat that we could have a full strength bowling attack, and I think they're still going the distance.
Yep.
Like I still think we lose that series.
Yeah.
Probably 3-0, I think. I don't know, just the way like that Indian team, that batting lineup, Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Kohli. Like Rohit Sharma is one of the best openers ever.
Yeah,
in one-day cricket.
He is India's version of like Gupta, I reckon. Like
On
you
steroids.
sort of forget about him, and then you're like, hold on, he is like unbelievable, like one of the all-time batters.
He averages like almost 50.
Yeah, and then Shubman Gill's just come in as the second coming of Rohit and like doing the exact same thing.
Like Kohli didn't even really have to do a lot.
No,
that's the crazy thing. I think,
is it the best 1 to 7 in white ball cricket at the moment? Just Rohit, Shubman, Kohli, Ishan Kishan, Sky, and then Hardik Pandya.
Yeah, I think there's probably question marks in the one-day format for Kishan and Sky.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, Sky and Glenn Phillips, they're quite similar for me, where they've clocked T20 cricket, like they know the tempo, they know how hard to go, but they haven't quite figured out, like, one-day cricket's a lot longer than you think, and they haven't quite figured out like the tempo, like how to like go through the gears and like do it. Like there's an element of batsmanship there, and then some explosion. And I don't know if those two, like obviously Glenn Phillips had that match-winning performance in that third one day against Pakistan, and it was awesome. And he's our like best T20 batter, but that was a T20 innings. Until I see like a 70 off 70 or like we bats a bit of time and he can rotate the strike and then explode at the end, or even like something like that. I'm still not 100% there, and I think Sky's probably like similar. Like his record is nowhere near the same as T20 cricket.
But I think the
names wise though,
names wise, and also if Rohit and Shubman Gill keep batting like this, like Sky and Ishan are playing T20s, aren't they? Because India are fucking 200 for 1 after 30. So
it's not often. It's not often you like wake up. So after, like, I remember going to bed on that third one day, and like Rohit and Gill were like 140 off like 17 overs, and I was like, I actually punted like for India to make 500. Just standard like $5, nothing. It was a bit outrageous.
Breaking the bank at $5. That's silly.
It was a nervous night. It was a sleepless night. Sweating over that sort of stuff. But it's funny when you wake up and they get like 390, and you think, well, oh, they've done well there. Like we've done well to pull them back to 390.
Yeah. I think that sort of as we were sort of winding down for the night, I think New Zealand had maybe bowled 10 overs, and we sort of spoke that like, fuck, India are on for 400 here, and it had been like maybe 3 or 4 overs of the game, and like we were going to be doing well to keep them to 350 sort of thing. So their batting lineup is very good, and I think, as you said, like without the batting to match, I don't think anyone was beating them in that series.
Right, should we talk about Finn Allen? Everyone's talking about it. We're pretty like sports. One of these things where we love to lift a guy up just to knock him back down.
Yeah,
like there's so many Finn Allen skeptics all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork, just like, oh, I've never believed in this guy.
Yeah,
I feel for him. I do.
100%.
He doesn't look comfortable in that one day format, and it just feels like he's drowning, and like New Zealand cricket's taken away his life jacket.
Yeah. I think one-day cricket, it's more of like a short test match than a long T20. I think that's what people forget. Like, I think it's like they forget that, like, they sort of go, fuck, 10 overs of a power play, we've got to have Finn Allen be 100 after 10 overs. I think they forget that, like, actually where you make your money in one-day cricket is if you can be 40 for none or 35 for none or 50 for none, depending on the conditions, that actually puts you in better stead to score 300 than being 75 for 2 at the end of that first power play. Like, the time, like 300 balls is so many balls, especially the way sort of the lower to middle order can bat with T20 cricket. Like, if you send out like a Glenn Phillips or a Sky with 15 overs left, they go fucking perfect. I know exactly how to bat here because I always do it in T20 cricket. I've got 4 out instead of 5 to start my innings.
Yeah.
And I can actually build up the score from there. Whereas I think when you do that, but you put a T20 batter in and say, bat 50 overs, but strike really quickly, but you've got to bat 50 overs so we can't run out of wickets, then it's like, fuck, you're sending out mixed messages. I think we've seen it already with New Zealand with Colin De Grandhomme, like arguably one of our better performing T20 players ever, like three T20 hundreds, like a great T20 opener.
Oh, and Colin Munro, yeah.
Colin Munro, sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was like T20 hundreds.
No, sorry, wrong player. But just floundered as a one-day opener because that role just, it's like Conway's the perfect batter to bat open in one-day cricket, and it's like we just can't quite seem without Gutdale to get that tempo right for the opener. So yeah, I think it's a really tough job to open in one-day cricket because it's almost like 2 back. I've got to go for it because I go for it in T20s. But also, if we lose 3 in this power play, we're sort of cooked and we reduce the death batting phase and all of that goes into it. So, yeah, I think it's a really tough ask. And I think you're almost better to bring your long format guys and ask them to bat quicker than take your guys that play in T20s and ask them to bat slower, is my sort of take on where he's at.
They rushed Finn Allen into this role. I think if we fast forward 5 years down the track, like let's say Finn Allen is the T20 opener and he is the opener for the next 5 years, I think you'll find that he will transition into that one-day role when the time is right. I think it'll be obvious when that time is right. I think they gave him the keys too early. You watch him bat and he doesn't know. He doesn't seem to know what tempo he needs to bat at. Like you kind of want, like you're looking at around 100 strike rate, aren't you? And sometimes he's going really hard at the start, and it looks great, but it's over quickly. And those 40 off 20s just don't really cut the mustard. Yeah. And then you see sometimes he'll try and go the other way, and he'll try and be defensive, and it's like that's not your game either.
Yeah, I think like you want a couple of guys to get 80 off 80 for you in a one-day cricket game. Like if 2 guys in the top 5 get 80 off 80, you're probably going to score 300. And like the way to get 80 off 80 is to be 40 off 50 or 40 off 55, and then sort of like start hitting some 2s, take some risks over certain fielders with only 4 back to sort of get your boundary and sort of accelerate instead of be 50 off 30 and then go, right now the field's back, I can get 30 off my next 50 balls. And that's sort of, you've almost got to flip how T20 cricket works in one-day cricket. So you need that batsmanship. And I mean, fucking tough ask to learn that batsmanship at international level against like those oppositions in those conditions. So I think hopefully that they stick with him and he sort of learnt some things, and I suppose at least he was getting out quickly. Like he wasn't getting like 10 off 28 and feeling shit. Like at least he was none off 2 or none off 5 or sort of got a 40 off 30 odds. So at least it was over quick, and he can probably he didn't feel like he was sort of scratching around and doing nothing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a tough one because they kind of, you almost have to stick with them
yeah,
now. But I'll list you three. There's three guys here that I would love to see just get an extended crack, and I think they're kind of like of the mold that you said, like test players, but asking them to bat a little longer. Will Young, I'd like to
yep,
see back in that fold. He looks like the perfect batter. Like you
yep.
watch him, and he can actually go. He probably looks.
He smoked it in the Super Smash this year.
Oh, he had that 30 off and over. Like he's got power that you don't see, and I think like one day cricket, I feel like suits him better than Test cricket in a
Yep.
way. And the other two, like Chapman, he's never let us down. I feel like I don't know what his record is, but it feels like he's always performed for the Blackcaps. And the other one is Tom Blundell.
Okay.
Like we're talking about, like obviously Rishabh Pant's injured at the moment, but right now he's probably the best Test batsman in the Test keeper batsman in the world right now.
Yep.
I don't think that's a hot take. Like he's averaging about 60 in Test cricket.
Alex Carey would be the only one off the top of my head with Pant injured.
Yeah, I don't know if he's on that. I don't know if his stats, like I remember what he did in England and Pakistan. I think he's a good player that can go up another notch.
Yeah, I'll expand on one of those as well. If you play Chapman, you could bet him at 5 and open with Tom and keep that Test top order intact.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You could go. Yeah,
you go Tom, Conway, Kane. Then you've got sort of Darryl, Chapman, Phillips, Bracewell as your 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, I don't mind that.
Yeah, that could be tasty.
I don't mind that.
Because I think Chapman's got that next gear for the back end when he's 70 off 75. He could get to 130 off 100 sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have that, but he feels like
I know what you mean.
Left-handed as well in that sort of order. So, yeah, interesting one. I like Will Young as well in the top. I think he's shown that he's a hell of a... He's probably just unlucky of Conway's ascension, really, because he was sort of the next batter in the squad for years, and then Ross probably played another year longer than was expected, and Conway sort of forced his way in. So, Will Young, white ball cricket, long format white ball cricket, could be a real chance for him to establish himself as a black cap for the next few years.
Because he was touted as like the next Ross Taylor. He was supposed to just slot back into that 4 role, and then why did he open again? I think, like I said, it was Ross. We just couldn't find an opener. That's right. We couldn't find an opener. Ross obviously wasn't going anywhere, and he kind of transformed into an opener. But yeah, maybe he deserves another crack.
Yeah, potentially. So there's some options there, I think. And I think now there's guys that have, they've at least had a tour to India.
Yeah.
So like Finn and Darryl and even some of these reserve seamers, we're not picking them to go to the World Cup and taking them to India for the first time to play international cricket. So, yeah, I think from the series, I think disappointing, but I think any 11 in the world was going to struggle against that Indian side, and some valuable experience. So I think we're still in a great place for the World Cup. We're a great tournament cricket team, so I think we are tracking well, albeit we got tuned up.
Speaking of sort of like the Will Youngs and stuff like that, should we touch on the Super Smash, because it is starting to get towards the business end of the tournament.
What have we got? 3 round robin games left?
Yeah, not many, I guess. Like we got Canterbury and Otago are going to play each other twice. Northern are going to play Central, and the Firebirds are playing the Aces, and that's all she wrote. And by my calculations, so you got the Kings and the Vault top.
Yep.
You've got Northern and Central tied for third. Firebirds fifth, and the Aces at 6. And the Aces have been pretty woeful, to be fair, and they can't qualify. Every other team can qualify going into the last round. Firebirds, they obviously will need to beat the Aces, and then they'll need either Canterbury to lose both games against the Vaults, or the Vaults to lose both games against Canterbury, because obviously Northern and Central playing each other.
Yep.
They'll go. So one of them will go up. Yeah. So Stags, obviously the Stags and Northern, whoever wins that will be through.
Yep. It's sort of looking like Stags versus Braves for 3 and 4, and Canterbury, Otago vying for the top spot almost, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, so the Vaults, I think we can still lose. Because the thing is that Northern...
You might need them to duck into 4th just to justify some takes.
Well, that's... Yeah. Yeah, they're right. Well, to be fair, their bowling has been very good. And they've been patched together by your Foxcroft, who is...
Your Lock Roses.
Your Lock Roses, of course, today. I mean, their middle order has been their batting's been pretty average outside of Foxcroft. Actually, a lot of the team's batting hasn't been great. A lot of good bowling.
Yeah.
But like Foxcroft, I mean, he is a future Black Cap.
Yep.
Like
so.
if we look forward to the T20 World Cup in 24, I can't see how he's not in that squad, because you've got a very consistent T20 bat, like scarily consistent. Like he is holding the Vaults down. He's won like 3 games by himself.
Yeah.
And then he bowls some handy off spinners. He's got a fifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the bowling's been sharp. Obviously, friend of the show, Matty Bacon, fifer last week.
Helps.
Did go none for 50 today. We'll bring that up. It is a great humbler. Our game. Yep. But yeah, no, I think it's heating up, and I've actually quite enjoyed this competition. I think people want to compare it to the Big Bash all the time, and it's not fair to compare it. Like just like we're just never going to get that sort of crowds. We're never going to get that sort of production. I don't think the level of play is that far off.
No, I was just going to say, I think the product, like the actual on-field cricket, if you had 2 internationals in every Super Smash team, they would be like the cricket itself would be like a very, very similar standard. I believe. These genuine clubbies playing in the Big Bash. Like there's guys that play 10 months of the year, they are club cricketers, and they get a Big Bash gig for like a month and a half out of club cricket. So like there's genuine clubbies playing. Like that's the reality of that tournament. So I think because of the production and sort of the crowds they get, everyone sort of puts it up on a pedestal, and we've just got our shitty little comp in Embankment Grounds in New Zealand. But I think the cricket itself, ours is right there with it.
Oh, 100%. And like barring, I mean, even the top 2 teams, like I don't know if you saw those highlights of the Scorchers, Sixers, I don't know what they call, but they played each other. There was like 7 drop catches.
Yeah.
Like a lot of easy catches. And these are the 2 best teams in the comp. And I think those 2 teams would be too strong for the Super Smash teams, but the rest of those teams aren't that flash. And if you can add, like if you're able to add even just the Blackcaps back into their sides, you're starting to look at like some really strong sides like that.
100%.
Like Northern will get all their Blackcaps back and things like that.
Chucking in overseas like here and there. Like imagine adding Anrik Norchi and Barbara Azam into the Canterbury Kings. Like we'd win the Big Bash.
Would you get them both to Burnside as like affiliated club?
Yeah, well, we've actually got a lovely amount of South Africans at Burnside, so that'd be reaching out to Onric, and he'd be coming. Obviously, friend of the show, and he's been listening ever since I backed him. So yeah, it's probably natural that he just comes to Burnside.
Probably one of the form bowlers in the world at the moment.
Yeah, probably. I'm bowling all right on the weekend, so he probably has bowls first change, but would make the side.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to trial a wee segment. There's going to be a lot of cricket coming up. We've got India, Australia, we've got England, New Zealand, we've got Super Smash Finals, Ford Trophy, we've got the Women's World Cup. It's going to be all go in February, and we just wanted to trial a new segment for a potential sponsor. We won't reveal a sponsor till next week, but what we want to do is myself and Jacko. This week we're going to do the Super Smash. We're going to predict the three. We're going to do predictions. We're going to predict the three teams that make it, and yeah, pretty much. And then we're going to review it next week. So if you do have a prediction of yourself, send it in, and we'll follow up next week. So,
So it sounds like ideally how it will run is the TMC crew will put a prediction potentially up against a listener's prediction, and we see who's right for the week. So we'll just give ours now, and then during the week we'll get hopefully some listeners' predictions in. Love to see some people go out on a limb. That'd be brilliant. And then sort of play us off against the listeners as such.
100%. So okay, my three teams that are going to go through. I think Canterbury and Otago. I think they probably split those games. Most likely. I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a row.
Yeah.
So those two teams will go through.
Yep. Okay.
So they'll both be on 24 points. Probably Canterbury will be top. And then coming in at third, I'm gonna go Central.
Okay.
Central's gonna go through. Yeah, that's where I'm heading. I think Central will beat Northern.
All right.
There you go.
Yep. Lovely. Before I give my three, have you heard of the Twitter page Freezing Cold Takes? And second part of my question, are you nervous after that prediction?
I think everyone's heard of that page. I'd be surprised if my pick for the Super Smash playoffs is on their radar.
Yeah, I was more meaning some of your earlier comments around the vaults at the start of the Super Smash.
Oh, yeah, no, I still stand by it.
Yeah, okay, good. No,
to be fair, they've picked you.
Yeah.
And they're picking an extra batter. So they've
done what you asked.
They've done what I asked. And at the end of the day, I want them to win as much as the next guy. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And fans have opinions, and that's okay.
Yep. And you gave them the slap on the bottom they needed, and now they're finals bound. So you could almost claim their success. Yep.
100%.
Brilliant.
And I will.
Yep. Perfect. I will go the Kings at the top. What a wagon Canterbury is. I think we'll win. Yeah, definitely beat the Volts at home, maybe away. So we'll qualify top. And then I think the Volts will hang on. And I will go. Oh, it's tough, isn't it? I'll go the Brave, and they will sneak in on net run rate. Well, actually, they'll win. They'll beat the Stags, and they'll get in. Two abandoned games for them is a bit niggly.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh. Shout out to the Auckland people.
Yeah.
There's a bit going on up there. It's a bit going on up there.
Bit happening. But hopefully everyone's safe, and hopefully cricket can. Obviously, that's not the main concern up there. We want people to be safe and get through that. But, hopefully cricket can return to Auckland soon and give people a bit of an escape. But, yeah, I think, Staggies at 3. Brave at 3 for me. So slightly different.
Beautiful. Anything else you wanted to touch on there, Jacko?
No, I think we've sort of taken stock. It's an exciting year. I think we've got the World Cup. We've got some good home cricket to finish the summer for the Blackcaps, and then get ready for the World Cup, and hopefully we are sort of finalists once again and go close.
Beautiful. Righto, that is us for another week, team. Massive thanks to the listeners. Numbers are continuing to grow, which is always good. Reminder that if you are interested in getting this podcast earlier, check out Patreon. The second this edit is done, I'll whack it up and you get a listen before anyone else. If you're a listen on Apple, don't be shy to give us a wee 5-star and leave us a review. If you leave a question in that box, you'll get it answered on air. Other than that, Jacko, thanks as always, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, mate.